name's Reuben Wu. I'm 37 and I'm a musician and a photographer. As a child, it's actually an interesting story. My godmother gave me a present for Christmas, and she asked me after Christmas. She said, "Oh, did you like the toy gun that I got you?" And I said, "What toy gun?" I was like, "You got me a camera." She said, "No, I got you a gun." And what had happened was that my mum and my dad had switched the gun for a camera because they didn't agree with me being given a gun. So I got given a little Agfomatic camera which took 110 format film, and I wasn't taking great photos then. It was just I didn't really start getting seriously into photography until I was at university. When we first started the band, that was in 1999, 2000. I'd just finished college, and I was doing design at college. So I was doing that as a degree, and I was also in a postgraduate study doing design too. So I wasn't so much into photography at that point. I knew how to use a camera, and I had a camera, but I wasn't very passionate about it. What I was passionate about was drawing, so I did a lot of drawing, just from just drawing scenes from tour, and drawing us, and I used those for artwork for the singles and the album. But then I became more involved in just using the camera as documenting, because drawing takes time. It was just a question of picking up the camera and just photographing the world around me, because at the point I was traveling to many different interesting places, and it was that which really catalyzed my interest in being creative with photography. And but it was quite a few years really of doing recording what was around me on tour before I was more creatively inspired to do things. Being on tour, we spend a lot of times in airports, spend a lot of times on a bus, on the roads, in motorway service stations and truck stops, hotels, and inside venues. So there's a lot of recurring themes, and I think taking a lot of pictures of a road influences you, and you end up formulating your style, I think. The other angle to it is I was doing a lot of, particularly earlier, in the band's career, I was experimenting with quite a lot of film and cameras, and different lenses, and different techniques. So that was, apart from being very much a learning process for me, it allowed me to choose what I liked, and allowed me to figure out what I didn't like, even though I might have liked it very much. So it's mainly those two things which has informed my style. I love shooting on film, but I also shoot on digital. I think to be purely into film or purely into digital is not really. I've always liked both. I like using both processes. I shoot my photographs on negative film or slide film, and then I scan with a digital scanner, and then I edit on a computer. So I'm never inside a darkroom, and I'm never printing or developing with chemicals. As far as printing is concerned, I think with any photograph, you need to have it printed and have it in front of you for you to really judge if it's any good or not. I think when you see it on screen, you can have a good idea, but essentially what you're looking at is a light box with your image on it. And I think if you actually have it as a hard copy, as a page in front of you, then that's really valuable. So I think companies like Blurb and a lot of other self-publishing companies are democratizing photography and print and bookmaking, so much so that anyone can do it. And that's why I chose to do it on Blurb, just because it's so convenient, and I had complete control over the editing and over the format of the book. Allowed me a lot of freedom, and I think if I did the book was last year. If I were to do the book again this year, I would probably do it a lot differently. So it allows you to put out another book if you wanted to, just in the next week or so. I think photography changes over time, and I think when technology becomes available and allows you to be put in a position where you're taking pictures of something in a new situation, and you're able to share with your friends and family, and I think that's really valuable. In fact, I think the founder of Polaroid Camera Corp, Edwin Land, there was an interview of him talking about camera. He designed the first Polaroid camera, which was a foldable SLR, which is about this size, and it folds out to a full-size Polaroid camera. But he had this concept where he had the idea of this wallet-sized device, and there's a video interview of him taking out this wallet, which is a black wallet and looked exactly like an iPhone. And he said, well, what if you could just take a picture of something and then share it with your friends and put the camera back in your pocket. Obviously at the time it was impossible and the technology was impossible, but obviously now we have the iPhone and a lot of similar devices which will just allow you to have a camera all the time, just because it fits in your pocket. I think the best camera is the camera that you have with you, and I think that's why the iPhone 4 camera is the best one. Also, it's an amazing camera too, so I use it a lot. Well, I've always wanted to come to the Atacama, and last year was my opportunity to come, so I was really excited, and I actually travelled. I flew into Santiago, and I got on a bus to Antofagasta, and then I rented a car where I drove to the observatory at Cerro Paranal and stayed there a night, took pictures, and then got onto another bus and went to San Pedro, where I stayed for the rest of that week. Really fantastic experience, completely different from Svalbard, unbelievably hot, unbelievably cold. I think if anything, I would have wanted a bit more time, maybe to go a little bit further north. And I think if you, the more time you spend in an environment, the better photos you end up taking. And unfortunately, I can't stay there for long, but hopefully I'll be able to go back soon. My advice is to not be too concerned about photography and just be curious about the world around you. And if you're not curious about the world around you, then you're not going to be excited about it. You're not going to want to interpret it with your camera. So you have to find something. You have to find a passion around you where you can be obsessed with, and you could be, completely you just completely follow that thing, and when you become good at that, then you can do something else. I think it's also important to experiment a lot, different techniques and different cameras and different films, and just find the one that you like. And you don't need to, after that you don't need to dip in and out of other things. And I think it's important to get to know one method of taking a picture, so one camera, a film that you really, really know. And in that way you learn a lot about yourself as well, as an artist.